Mayor Holt, Mayor Reed, thank you so much for your remarks. I love how you mentioned the importance of listening, and Mayor Reed, the importance of leading by example. These are all themes that I think can help us pave the roads back to each other. And the two of you are leaders who take such pride in your communities, whether it be working in the birthplace of the civil rights movement or operating in a city that's faced tragedy like the Oklahoma City bombing. So I have to ask, when you speak to your constituents, what is something that they represent that they take pride in your communities? Mayor Holt, do you want to start?
Well, I think a few things. I think and I alluded to this in my remarks, I think we've created a unique political culture, right? Where we do listen to each other. And by the way, sometimes you run across leaders who clearly have been told to listen, but they have been told to actually apply what they're listening into the final outcome. So it is a two-step process.
Absolutely.
And so not only do you listen, but you incorporate those ideas, or at least what you can, into the outcome. And I think in Oklahoma City, we've figured out how to do that. And I think people who are paying attention to the civic life of the community see that, and I think they're proud of it. And I think some of them might even trace some of it back to our response to the Oklahoma City bombing. And by the way, a shout out to, I've got several representatives here from the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum here in the room today.
Awesome.
Who literally have a program called Better Conversations, where they try to foster this environment where people can find compromise and good outcomes that are good enough for all of us. And so I think that's something we're proud of. I can give the mayor's speech about, I'm proud of my thunder and I'm proud of our economic development and all that. But I think at its core, a lot of those great outcomes have been the result of a political culture that I think is really healthy, and that's maybe the thing I'm most proud of.
I think we could all use some better conversations, so I can't wait to learn more about that program.
Yeah.
Mayor Reed, what about you?
I think that for residents of our community, we believe that we punch way above our weight in terms of impact, not only in the state, but also the nation itself. And I think what most people are proud of is not only the history, which I referenced, but how we apply it to present day measures that we take, whether it be politically, whether it be economically, or even through education and things along those lines. So you have a lot of pride in the impact that normal, everyday people can make outside of government, outside of business, outside of philanthropy, but nonetheless look for that partnership, look for that collaboration from all of those areas to help propel them forward.
It's awesome. And I don't know about all of you, but when I think about mayors, I think of very diplomatic leaders. And I think the two of you embody this very well. Mayors clearly understand how to coexist because they're doing it. And the two of you, I think, are great examples, right? Mayor Holt, you're on the right side of the political spectrum. Mayor Reed, you fall on the left. So I have to ask, what is your secret as a mayor and how you've learned to coexist with people across the aisle?
I think, understanding that potholes don't have a party, trash pickup doesn't have a party, the basic things that people really want to hear and see from their mayors, spans ideology and political parties. And ultimately, as the chief executive officers of our cities, people look for us to lead, and they look for us to bring about positive results that impact their quality of life. And they don't really care how you vote, and they don't really care what you say. They just want it done. And I think when you learn that, then you find that middle ground, whether it be with a city council person or a state legislator or maybe even a governor, congressman, or a senator that you may have in order to fulfill the requests and the demands of your residents.
Yeah, bottom line, mayors have to get things done. And, at the state and federal levels, it feels as if politics has become entertainment, We don't have that luxury at the city level. We got to get things done. We have to produce those results that Mayor Reed was just talking about. And you can't produce results in an overly ideological fashion. You do come in with your principles, you come in with your worldview, but the reality is there's hardly any American city that is extremely tilted towards one way or the other, even places that people think they are. When it gets down to it, a lot of humans and a lot of Americans are pretty much going to want to see the same outcomes in their cities. And those are going to be pragmatic, middle-of-the-road outcomes You know, in our city, as I referenced earlier, I mean, we're basically 50-50. So if I were to say, well, I'm a registered Republican, so all the outcomes here have to be conservative Republican outcomes, I would never actually accomplish anything because, you know, with 50% of the populace, you really can't. You have to have a broader consensus than that. And so we'd get nothing done. And guess what? That is what is happening at the state and federal level. Nothing is getting done. But we don't have that luxury. So, and then when we come together as mayors, we have, I think, the healthiest and most active and most bipartisan national organization in the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Yeah, we get along great because we just try to get things done, and we don't really see party, and we work at the federal level to promulgate policies that are good for cities.
Thank you for that. And you bring up something really interesting. I just wonder how many of us in the room have ever felt that our political culture today, at one time or another, has felt a little bit like a spectator sport? Anyone? Okay, it's a lot of hands. You can put them down. Thank you.
Like professional wrestling, really. And
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it brings the question of intentions to the forefront, right? Why do you do this work, and why do you continue to do this work? So Mayor Reed, what is your motivation in the work that you do, and has that reason evolved since you started in politics?
You know, it's hard for me to say this, Sophie. I've been elected now to public office for over a decade. And so, you know, when I'm talking to my young professional council and groups, I like to think of myself as being a part of them. They remind me that I'm not. After being in office now this long, I was a county judge before becoming mayor. But I think when I started, you know, in 2012, it was really about using government as an instrument to do good and trying to make sure that we could utilize government to fully meet our residents where they were in a way that would impact them, and not just as something that was convenient or expedient for the person holding public office. And so it's evolved a little bit, I think, from my standpoint, in the sense that I feel more urgency now, having a little bit more experience than I did when I first started, of course. And I feel the weight, if you will, of responsibility to deliver on things that people have heard elected officials talk about for years and now even over a decade. And so that fuels my passion. It fuels my energy to really try to make a difference and to find partners not only in our city, in our state and nation, but throughout the world to help us achieve those goals and objectives.
It's fantastic. Mayor Holt, what about you?
Well, I mean, I think this hotel is busting right now with people just like us who we just are motivated to leave the world a better place than we found it. And maybe in its purest form, I look at that through the prism of my kids. You know, I want my kids to grow up, and when I'm gone, you know, I want them to think that their dad was a good man who tried his best to leave the world better for them. You know, and I think that's what motivates everybody in this room and everybody in this building. Again, we come from different perspectives, and we maybe seek slightly different outcomes. But we all have the same pure motivation. And maybe that's one of the other shortfalls in current American life is how much we question each other's motivations. When in reality, that's the first place we could find common purpose and common ground, is that we're all in this for the same reason.
And thank you for that reminder. Yes. And thank you both for driving some of the common ground that we're really seeing today in that shared purpose for getting the work done. You both shared that today, and I think that's a really wonderful sentiment to remember, that no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, we all have that common thread of wanting to do good and get the job done, and you two do that so brilliantly in the work that you do. So thank you for helping us repave those roads.
Thank you, Sophie, very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.